Hello everyone. In these few videos, we are going to start a new topic on the onset, pathogenesis, and prevention of diseases. This is the last part of our basic theory study. From the beginning until now, we have spent quite a few times to discuss the theories from the philosophy, the 藏象 theories, the actions, qi, blood, body fluid theory, the body constitution, the etiology of Chinese medicine and acupuncture until now. So how do you use those theories to understand the disease when we see a patient, the disease when you see in your daily life? That's the content we're going to study now. From these a few videos, we need to understand what's health and what's disease. So in order to understand the disease, we also need to understand what's health, what kind of situation is considered as healthy. We also need to understand the pathogenesis, the concept, the definition, and the concept. Thirdly, we need to understand the concept of the onset of disease. Fourthly, the pathogenesis of the impairment between the pathogens and your healthy qi. Impairments of yin and yang, impairments of qi and blood. Also, the diseases due to the endogenous pathogens, the 5 zang organs, 6 fu organs, and extraordinary organs dysfunction. So these are the contents we're going to study from this topic. We also need to understand the onset, the development, the prognosis of certain disease. So from the onset of disease, this theory is a study on the pathogenesis, categories of pathogenic factors, laws of disease, and other factors affecting the occurrence of disease. As you can see from the definition, this theory actually study on the pathogenesis. Also, you can use the mechanism, how the disease happen, the categories of pathogenic factors. So these pathogenic factors, we're going to group them in different categories. The laws of disease and other factors affecting the occurrence of disease. Other factors including the social factors, environmental factors, and others. And then you can see from the second, the pathogenesis definition. It refers to the concept that it blends the principles of the onset and development of disease. So from these two definitions, you can see these two are quite similar. The onset of diseases, the pathogenesis. The only difference between these two is the onset of disease is answering why they become sick. The pathogenesis, the theories of pathogenesis, is answering how they become sick. So thus from the theories, from the etiology of Chinese medicine, how we understand why the patient becomes sick and how they become sick. So that's the contents we're going to discuss here. And from here you can use a lot of terms of the syndrome, or sometimes they use the pattern, such as previously we mentioned some of the patterns such as qi deficiency, or spleen deficiency. This qi deficiency or spleen deficiency, these are actually the syndrome or the pattern, the tones of the pattern. So from here, we need to understand why, what's the reason of qi deficiency? What's the reason of heart qi deficiency? And then afterwards, when we study the diagnosis from probably in a few weeks, from the diagnostics, that's the information to study on what kinds of symptoms is considered as the heart qi deficiency, or what kinds of symptoms are considered as the spleen qi deficiency. So that's why we put them in different categories. One, they study the reason behind why they become, how can they develop, how this pathogen, how this patterns and syndromes develop into qi deficiency or heart qi deficiency. From diagnostics, we try to study those symptoms. So as we introduced previously at the beginning of the theories, we said that symptoms, syndromes, and disease, they are different. How do we understand the disease from Chinese medicine and acupuncture? Disease, we describe that it's a kind of state, that disharmony of yin and yang, physical injury or functional impairments of normal life activities due to effects of pathogenic factors. So from the definition, you can see this definition actually did not categorize or did not define any kind of situation. In other words, from this definition, it's sometimes quite difficult to understand, still quite difficult to understand what's disease. From acupuncture theories, when we understand disease, we always say that's the yin and yang imbalance, which also can call it yin and yang harmony, yin and yang disharmony. Physical injury also can be a kind of disease. The onset of disease. The process of the occurrence is mainly reflected in the conflict between anti-pathogenic qi and pathogenic qi. So these terms are quite complicated. The anti-pathogenic qi, sometimes they also translate as healthy qi. So it'd be much easier. Healthy qi and pathogenic qi. When they use anti-pathogenic qi, just try to imply that this healthy qi is opposite to the pathogenic qi. Okay, so in order to in-depth study the theories, firstly we need to understand what's health. If we don't know what's health, we will never know what's disease. So health, from the WHO, the definition, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So as you can see from the definition, even from the Western medicine, from the recommendation from WHO, that the definition of health is not only the physical body. It includes the physical, mental, and social well-being. That's why A healthy person can adapt to the changes, no matter from the nature or from the environment easily. That's also from the concept of the holism. We, as human beings, we transform, we adapt the nature while we transform the nature. So we can adapt the environment easily for a healthy person. So healthy. From the WHO in 1948, it also gave some principles on the health or on healthy person, the signs of health, such as energetic or positive, or according towards the attitudes, positive, and rest well, sleep well, and also there's better immune system, not overweight. So these are some of the symptoms from the WHO that indicates a healthy situation. From Chinese medicine and acupuncture theories, how we see health, this is quite easy sometimes because health is the opposite side of disease. So from health, from acupuncture theories, we think that it's the harmony of yin and yang. Harmony of yin and yang. The term is very simple, but when we see from the clinical symptoms, it's quite complicated. But although we only introduce the health and disease here, there's a gap between the disease and health. We also call it sub-health. The sub-health state is the gray area that's between the health and disease. That's the disharmony of yin and yang, but this disharmony is not enough to cause disease. So that's on the way to the disease, and we call it sub-health. And until now, from the previous study, you will understand that all our theories, most of them came from the four classic. So when we introduce a new theory, we will introduce some clause from the classic, such as 黄帝内经. It describes that anti-pathogenic qi must be weak if the invasion of pathogenic qi take place. The antipathogenic qi, or the healthy qi must be weak if the invasion of the pathogenic qi take place. When the pathogenic qi take place, then the people will be sick. And in this condition, in 黄帝内经, we think that the healthy qi must be weak. In other words, or in other situation, you can describe it as your immune system must be weak. So in this clause, it implies that the pathogenic qi cannot invade the body if the anti-pathogenic qi remains strong. That's why you see that now the COVID-19, from the Western medicine, there's no treatments from the COVID-19, but what they suggest is you need to exercise. You need to keep your immune system well. Then you have less chance to be sick. That's very similar to here. They believe that if you can be infected, then your healthy qi, your anti-pathogenic qi, must be weak. So in order to stay away from disease, we need to keep the anti-pathogenic qi strong. That's also that includes the immune system. The relationship between the health and disease is a struggle between pathogenic factors and anti-pathogenic qi. Pathogenic factors, they use a lot of different terms here. Pathogenic factors, you also can use the term of pathogens. So these pathogenic factors are the pathogens that we discussed in the etiologies of Chinese medicine and acupuncture in the previous few videos, such as the 6 exogenous pathogens, the endogenous pathogens, also the products of the other disease, the products of other pathogens. So in our theories, we believe that a disease is from the struggle between the pathogenic qi and anti-pathogenic qi. The term here, the pathogenic qi, pathogenic factors, are all refers to the pathogens. The anti-pathogenic qi is the healthy qi. So how we understand the disease is the struggle between these two. One's the anti-pathogenic qi, one's pathogenic qi. When they struggle, if the anti-pathogenic qi wins, then the patient will recover. If the pathogenic qi wins, the disease will keep developing. Then we are going to discuss what's antipathogenic qi. So the other name of antipathogenic qi is a healthy qi. As you can see, we use the title of qi. That means this antipathogenic qi is a kind of qi, a kind of the qi of the body. So it refers to the body's functional activities and ability to resist disease. From this definition, sometimes it's also quite confusing. What kinds of resist function? What kind of ability to resist disease? So that's just opposite to say the pathogens and the qi to help you to avoid being sick, to prevent being sick. This kind of qi has the function to prevent, for prevention, have the function to repair and to maintain our physical body, our physiology of a healthy person. So that's the antipathogenic qi. This qi, we have mentioned another name of defensive qi before. What's the relationship between the defensive qi and antipathogenic qi? In the philosophy, when we introduce the qi, we have mentioned the defensive qi, the nutrition qi, and now we introduce the anti-pathogenic qi. What's the relationship between these two is that the defensive qi is a part of the anti-pathogenic qi. So which means this antipathogenic qi is part of the qi of the whole body, and then the qi of the body, when it perform the function of prevent the disease, of dispel the disease, of repair and maintain the harmony of the organs. This kind of function, the qi, when they perform this kind of function, this group of qi we call antipathogenic qi. So then this qi is very similar to the immune system, although it's not 100% exactly the same. So we can't use immune system to replace this term. That's because this term, the antipathogenic qi, refers more than the immune system. When we talk about one thing, we always talk about yin and yang. That's why we study the yin and yang theories. Whenever you see one, you need to separate this one object into two parts. It will make it easier to understand. This is the antipathogenic qi. You can separate them into yin and yang. Then you can ring some bells. That's yin qi and yang qi. That's from the yin and yang theories. That's the warm, the positive or ascending characteristics qi, considered as yang qi. The quiet and negative and descending, this kind of characteristic qi called yin qi, but this qi consists of the anti-pathogenic qi. The reason why we need to separate the qi into these two categories is because it will help us to understand how the antipathogenic qi to dispel or to repair the invaded pathogenic qi. So the healthy qi, how this healthy qi to repair, to dispel the pathogenic qi. With the yang qi and some pathogenic qi such as dampness, coldness, these two are considered as yin category. So for yin category, we can use yang qi to balance them. This situation is very similar if on the ground it's wet and watery or humid in the garden. In this condition, how do you dry them? How do you make the garden better? You need to wait until the sun, or if possible, you need to bring the sun to shine on the ground, and then the ground can be warmer, can balance. That's exactly how, if the yin pathogenic qi invades us, we use the yang antipathogenic qi to fight, to balance. If the yang pathogenic qi, such as the fire, then we use yin antipathogenic qi to balance. As you can see here, we always try to balance. If you feel too hot, we will give you air conditions. If you feel too cold, we will give you a heater to help you to balance. That's the function of antipathogenic qi. So the antipathogenic qi has four functions. Prevent the invasion of the pathogenic qi. The antipathogenic qi, it can help the prevention. It can help to prevent the pathogens to go into the body. The antipathogenic qi also can dispel the invaded pathogenic qi. So in this situation, it actually describes the struggle between these two. In this situation, the patient already sick. The pathogen already invaded. So in this situation, the antipathogenic qi try to dispel, to keep the pathogenic qi away, get rid of them. Thirdly, the antipathogenic qi can repair and restore the normal life activities. So this part talk about the recovery. From the first, second, and the third, as you can see here, these three aspects actually is the development of a disease. It goes deeper and deeper. It causes physical or or mentally damaged. From prevention, the pathogen is outside from the body. The anti-pathogenic Qi tries to prevent the pathogen goes in your body to cause disease. And then once the pathogenic Qi invaded, and the anti-pathogenic Qi try to dispel this kinds of pathogen, try to help you to recover. If the pathogenic Qi damages some parts of the function, or either physical or mentally, some function of your body, the antipathogenic Qi will try to repair and restore the normal life activities. So this Qi will help you try to recover from a sick situation. So that's actually describe the development of disease. And also lastly, antipathogenic Qi can maintain the functions of Jiangfu organs and meridians. So in order to function well, to maintain the function of our physiological activities, that's the antipathogenic Qi. The reason why I said that the antipathogenic Qi is very similar to the immune system, although we don't use directly. That's because the medical term in Chinese medicine and acupuncture always refer to a broader category. If you use immune system, it actually limits the boundary of this definition. But when you see from the function, what prevents the invasion of a pathogen? What helps you to fight with the pathogen? What helps you to recover from a disease? From Western medicine, that's the function from your immune system. So it's very similar. But you see why we said that we don't use the immune system to replace the antipathogenic Qi. That's because maintains the function, the maintaining function of Jiangfu and organs and meridian is not only the function of immune system, it also can be the function of other organs. So these are the functions of antipathogenic Qi. From this slides, we need to understand the definition. What kinds of Qi is considered as antipathogenic Qi, and the function of this kind of Qi. The reason why we need to understand the functions is because if the dysfunction of antipathogenic Qi, it will result in these dysfunctions of prevention, or dispelling, repairing, or maintaining. So if the dysfunction of antipathogenic Qi, the patient, those group of people are easier to be sick. That's the prevention. Once they become sick, it's not that easy to recover. That's the dispelling function, because the dysfunction of the antipathogenic Qi is not strong enough to dispel the pathogens. So it will take much longer to recover. That's dispelling and repair. Once it causes some injuries, it will take much longer to recover. Also, they don't feel that healthy. That's because of the maintaining will cause the disharmony of these Jiangfu organs and meridians. So in other words, when you study the antipathogenic Qi has all these kinds of functions, or what we need to do in our daily life, how to use these theories into your daily life. That's all what you try to do is try to improve your antipathogenic qi. That's how to stay healthy and also to be longevity. The effects of antipathogenic qi on the onset of disease. Deficiency. So from here, we actually give you some examples of the situation that we being sick, why we being sick. As it described in 黄帝内经, that's whenever this antipathogenic qi is weak, the pathogen can invade. So which means if they are sick, then we can conclude that the antipathogenic qi is weak. When the antipathogenic qi is weak, we call deficiency of antipathogenic qi. From here, we actually gave you 3 examples. Deficiency of antipathogenic qi and the invasion of pathogenic qi. From here, the deficiency of antipathogenic qi. So that's the deficiency of your body. The protecting, the prevention, the function of prevention is weak. That's why we say it's deficiency of the antipathogenic qi. If your antipathogenic qi is weak, the pathogens can invade easier, such as the virus, such as the bacteria. These pathogens may invade easier, so these pathogens from the environment, from outside of your body, we call the exogenous pathogens, right? In the etiology, we have introduced the categories of the pathogens, the categories of pathogenic factors, exogenous factors, endogenous factors. So the invasion already implied where does the pathogen come from outside. That's why invasion. So firstly, if the antipathogenic qi deficiency, you make it easier for the pathogens from outside to attack, to invade the body and cause disease. The second, deficiency of antipathogenic qi results in disorder of 脏腑 organs and meridian. This part, as you can see, is still from the deficiency of antipathogenic qi. And then now we describe the function, the maintaining function of the antipathogenic qi will result, if the maintaining function doesn't function well, will result in the disorder of 脏腑 organs and meridian. So these can cause internal pathogens, such as the endogenous pathogens we mentioned in the etiology. But there's some other pathogens we didn't mention there. The reason why we didn't mention that is because the characteristics is very similar to the exogenous pathogens. The only difference is the source, such as the coldness from the 6th exogenous pathogen. The 6th exogenous pathogen, the coldness is from the environment. We also have internal coldness. That is due to the disorder of 脏腑 organs, can cause internal wind, internal coldness, internal dampness, internal dryness, internal fire. But the characteristics of these pathogens are similar to the exogenous factors. That's why we didn't discuss specifically, and the difference only from the source, where they come from. The other pathogens, such as the endogenous pathogens, such as the emotions or the products of pathogens, are also due to the deficiency antipathogenic qi, especially from the function of maintaining. Because if the qi can maintain well, we will not have these pathogens. The last effect of this antipathogenic qi of a disease is the strong or weak antipathogenic qi may affect the different natures of diseases. Now here we need to discuss what's the natures of disease. The nature of disease can refer to the deficiency or excess. These terms we're going to discuss in the later videos on the pathogenesis, such as if the antipathogenic qi is very strong. Though if this qi is very strong, the antipathogenic qi can fight with the pathogenic qi. They can fight with the pathogens. If these two pathogens are very strong, the fights will be very violent. And then this violence of the situation we cause excess. If the antipathogenic qi is weak, the deficiency, we will cause the pathogen is easier to attack and make it worse and go to internally easier because the prevention, the dispelling function is weaker, so the pathogen can go easier. And this disease can develop into a more severe situation. And here sometimes we can use the yin pattern or yang pattern to categorize these symptoms or syndromes. So from this discussion, these few slides, you can see that in our theories, from the onset of disease, we actually focus on the antipathogenic qi. The antipathogenic qi is the root cause, is the main factor that's of the onset of disease. The common phenomena we can see from our daily life is such as in flu season. Why some people they got flu, while the other friends of yours they're still healthy, they don't get the flu, although we study in the same classroom. Some of you got flu, some of you still healthy. That's the differences between the differences of the antipathogenic qi on individuals. So that's the discussion on the antipathogenic qi. In the next video, we are going to talk about the pathogenic qi. Thank you guys.